Hello, one and all. Welcome to a Galaxy Man Show live interview with Angela Jordan. Tonight's guest is Angela Jordan, who played Korra in The Legend of Korra: A New Beginning. So I'm about to give Angela a add into the live stream now, and dive right into the questions. So going to give Angela an add into the live now. Hello.
Hey, good morning, or good morning over here. It's afternoon for you, right?
Nighttime. Yeah.
Nighttime. Oh, nighttime for you guys. I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'll get you to do is I'll get you to introduce yourself and explain a bit about what you do as a person, and then I'll dive right into the questions.
Okay, sounds good. Everyone, my name is Angela Jordan, aka AJ, aka AJ Kick 101. That's how I go by. That's my tag name. But I'm a martial artist, YouTuber, indie action actress, and online content creator. So pretty much it's kind of some of it. I've been doing martial arts ever since I was like 5 years old. So I'm turning 25 this year, I think. 25? Yeah, 25. So it's like almost 20 years of just doing martial arts. I love it. And it's kind of brought me to do things like in terms of like working on YouTube, doing some the action scenes and action fight scenes, coming to doing my own channel and such, and just sharing my passion with martial arts with everyone, and just being able to share it in both like an educational standpoint as well as a entertainment standpoint and performing. So that's it, kind of little short, quick thing, because I know we're going to get through more details in the interview. So that's it.
So we'll dive right into the questions now. So for my first question, you were in this incredible fan series called The Legend of Korra: A New Beginning, and you also play Korra. What was it like filming that?
So the whole process of filming The Legend of Korra was fun, and also at the same time very stressful, because at the time I was working with Art School Dropouts, another indie filmmaking group and YouTube group. And if you haven't checked them out, please make sure you go over to the page and check out Art School Dropouts. Great place to check out some awesome films and videos. But pretty much you were just a three-man team working together on this project. So first filming it, like, we had to do like a lot of planning as well as like getting prep for the part in the role. This was my first time really kind of going into more narrative acting, and it kind of shows, as much as everyone like does love the series with that. And I'm very green with my acting, and it was a little stiff, a little stiff, but it was definitely a learning experience. And I was nervous just because, one, being that the Legend of Korra, like, well, the Avatar series in general is just a series that I knew I loved growing up watching. And so to play one of the characters from the show and the series in general is also a big undertaking. And kind of like, you don't want to let the fans down, and try to give your best performance. So I remember being getting really nervous, running through like dialogue and lines, and then just the process of filming the whole thing. Since it was the three of us, myself, Joey, and Steph, we had to do a lot of planning behind the scenes. So the days that usually, if it's like just Steph and I doing dialogue scenes, usually a separate day. I think we filmed it within like a week. I forget exactly how many days, but we filmed it within a week at least. Shot our scenes, in terms of doing like our acting and our action stuff, and then we actually coordinated with a bunch of our friends and everything. To come in as the extras, the other people you see in the film. And those days were fun, which just most of the time, like when we were working, we have to also be very efficient with our time too, so that way everyone else on set, can kind of enjoy, be part of the team. Everyone's like having a good time filming and such, and then we're just trying to make sure things fit together, and run smoothly, so that way we can get the best film out there and best product, so everyone enjoys it too. So it was both stressful and fun, a big learning experience. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I did enjoy it, and it was just really cool in terms of, yeah, say I've been a avatar and I can fire, water, and air and earthbend to some degree.
Nice.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. But it was really cool. I really did appreciate the time that we did get to work on the project. I'm happy that majority of fans really did appreciate the film. So
Awesome. So for my next question, who was the person that inspired you to get into like acting and martial arts?
so I grew up, and I think with a lot of people that like grew up like enjoying like action films and stuff, particularly martial arts action films. I really, really did enjoy watching Jackie Chan as a kid. And I think a lot of my influence and what I thought was really great action or martial arts action was basically Jackie Chan standard. I know, and it was just really cool. I used to watch a lot of Jackie Chan Adventures and Power Rangers, and it's just like, yo, I wanted to be able to perform like him and like have such a big influence in terms of like big influence in terms of like sharing like martial arts, because he did influence the world like in such a grand scheme, and to this very day, even in the industry, which I just learned coming into it, just how much he paved the way for modern day action films and stuff. So he's definitely been a big influence in my life with that. So in terms of action, martial arts action. So
Awesome. So for my next question, what does martial arts mean to you?
okay, so martial art, it's very I think it's evolved over the years. Just doing martial arts from a kid, it usually, I guess I've had this very idealistic view of it growing up. You watch the shows and everything, and you have like the whole grandmaster that just dedicates his whole life to abiding by these principles and honor and discipline and stuff, which are still very much important to martial arts. Don't get me wrong on that too. But I guess there's a humanistic factor that I guess TV shows don't necessarily focus in sometimes. So it's more of the downfalls and the downfalls and the mistakes and the personal growth development that isn't really represented in its truth, I guess. Because life's life. Things happen for a reason. Things happen well, and things just suck sometimes too. So martial arts is kind of developed more into the whole more personal growth and personal development, and trying to be just a better person, as well as a better martial artist, working on your craft, like developing more that way. And I think as a kid, the idea of that, like I kind of understood it, but it wasn't really put into practice because, as a kid, you don't really have to worry about a lot. So it was like, it acted more as a social gathering kind of thing, able to make a lot of friends and stuff, like a great way to fit, and the performance aspect too. I was blessed to be able to perform with my martial arts at a very young age, in terms of doing like demo performances, and like doing like halftime shows over at like at the time it was called the Wachovia Center, but I don't remember what it's called, but like basically wherever the 76ers over here in America, like we used to like do the martial arts night shows and do the halftime shows, like performing and stuff in just different schools. So it was more very external benefits for martial arts rather than the internal, which I'm kind of learning more so now in my later years martial arts. So it holds more of a deeper meaning in that sense now than it did before when I was a kid. But yeah, that's kind of how I see martial arts at now. So.
Awesome. So for my next question, you trained under American Kempo Karate. What was the experience like for you?
So full disclosure with that, I did study American Kempo Karate, but I would believe my background is more towards like sports karate side of it. At the time, I was studying under a martial arts school group called AmeriKick. So my actual traditional American Kempo Karate background isn't that strong. I don't consider it strong, too, so that I don't really try to brag too much about like, hey, I'm like this kind of degree black belt in American Kempo Karate, because honestly, I think I'm more a sports karate performer with that. But I did learn a lot in terms of like the sports aspect. As a kid, being young and athletic and pliable and not feeling any pain whatsoever, and you just have all this energy, right? I learned definitely how far I could push my body, and just how to, I guess, be creative in its outlet of what I can do with my martial arts, right? So in that aspect with the sports karate, it taught me more so about the importance of technique, because that's still something that is drilled to me. While I didn't understand how to fight necessarily for combative purposes, real combative purposes at the time, I did learn at least have the idea of practicing something so like it was perfect. And in that case, that time the perfect was get it ready for performance, make sure it looks as clean as possible and such. Then like going into the traditional background, I know I wasn't as diligent with it as a kid, but like I think as I started like still staying within my school and everything, I learned to really understand what the traditional side could offer. And I only learned more about that, I think, after leaving my school, at least like the real life application of certain things. But like they offered, like my American Kempo Karate experience really just offered a platform and a good base for me in terms of knowing what I could do, and then slow introduction of other martial arts coming into it. Like I was able to be thankful for my good training at the time, to really expand and build upon that. So that's really it. I really if I could do it again, maybe at the time when we were a little bit stronger with traditional stuff, I think I would have like taken more time into doing more traditional side of the American Kempo Karate, since that's supposed to be like my base, but I did have more of the sports side.
Awesome. So for my next question, you actually worked on two incredible film companies. So the first one, Art School of Dropouts, and also Cayman Raymond Studios. What was those experience like for you?
So I worked actually first with Kamen Ramen Studios. Well, before even they were called Kamen Ramen Studios, it was just Andrew Kim, and then G was just also Gerald Javier, DJ. He was just starting to join and work with them too, because they live basically in the same area, right? So I ended up working with Andy after an indie project that I did that kind of didn't turn out as expected sometimes. So I was very much kind of a little bit depressed. And Andy actually reached out, like, hey, I saw the project you just did. We could do better. Would you like to work with me or something? And we can put something together real quick. So literally, that was the first, I guess, experience of me having a fight scene and me seeing myself performing in something that I guess visually is appealing. And like, guess what was starting to get closer to that Jackie Chan, like, action scene. I'm like, oh crap, I can possibly do this, right? So working with them, that was kind of my entryway into getting into the whole YouTube and the action scene. And then that's how I ended up meeting Art School Dropouts, Joey, who's leading the group, and then Steph was part of it also at the time. I think she just was part of the group officially like a yearish then when I first joined. Like basically ended up meeting them, and just because of how we live, like G and Andrew live up north, like 2 hours away. Joey and stuff were literally kind of like 30 minutes. So just because of distance, I ended up basically working with Art School Dropouts, and basically interning for a couple of years with them, basically from the ground up, starting to develop the company with them and build this base and kind of give them a foundation for where they're holding it now today, which is fantastic. So I learned a lot of not only the creative side from like Joey, but also the business side from Steph. And I came from like a business entrepreneurship background already, so it was really cool that I was able to start applying it into this scene. So a lot of the techniques and the tools that I've been able to use on my own channel for editing, as well as just like creative ideas, and even the business aspect too, and trying to run and try to make this a living, and not just not just a hobby. I want to really make this a living and a passion. I have to thank too, like my experience with Art School Dropouts, because they really gave me that first step into learning how to use the tools and applying them in real life. So I'm very thankful for it, appreciative of it. But yeah, like literally those first two groups, even though like I'm not officially part of them anymore, we still help each other out too. Like I'm still close with G and Andrew, and so once this whole coronavirus and pandemic thing goes down, like literally I would be more than willing to like go up and film with them. And same thing, like Joey and stuff are still here around. Like, we try to virtually interact and help each other out, make content stuff now too. But hopefully when things die down, we're still going to be good and making more awesome stuff. So like I think really basically just being able to work with them, it was like it was a blessing, honestly. So yeah.
Awesome. So for my next question, if you could be in any TV or movie franchise, what would it be and why?
Oh man, like just because I'm a fan of the a fan of this show, but I would like to see a more martial arts application of it. I would definitely would want to be part of like the Spider-Man series. Whether like I think Spider-Man's cool. I grew up loving Spider-Man. I mean, who doesn't want to be web swinging action superhero beating up bad guys and stuff? And I mean, like I've always loved Spider-Man as a kid. I don't know how the first introduction of the character came about, but I don't know. I'm still obsessed with it. And it's kind of cool hearing too. I think I just learned not too long ago he had his own like martial arts style. So I'm just like, oh snap! It just makes it 10 times more awesome. The fact that this hero that I enjoy like has a martial arts background that he actually is supposed to apply in the comics. So it would be really cool to be part of like a movie adaptation or adaptation if they had the chance to do that. Um, Also, besides that, I think you already know the Avatar series is kind of a given.
Oh yeah.
So if they didn't already have casting set from what I've heard, at least like I would have been happy and blessed to have an opportunity to work on the show or the Netflix show and be able to be a part of a live action thing that is not criticized and not like, it has to be more real towards the actual animated series. So that'd be the other one pretty much a given. And for talking other shows. So yeah.
Awesome. On the side of the Spider-Man, that you said Spider-Man, who would be your most favorite Spider-Man that you've liked in like the Spider-Verse?
That's so. I've been honestly like after the Miles Morales, like the most recent one entered the Spider-Verse movie. Like, I love the suit. It's really like the suit thing too. I really do love the suit. It looks badass to me, honestly. That's definitely the one there. I was also I don't know if it's like also a another thing too, like the Venom infused like the Black Spider-Man thing. I don't know, a kind of cool slick thing, and I also think the character dynamics, just the switch between the two. If I was like, say, if you were to act it out, going from like the normal Spidey to like this whole Venom influenced switch around, I think would be a fun dynamic to play as well. So, but those are my top two. Like honestly, the Miles Morales suit I think is totally dope. There was another suit I saw before too, but that's the one that's been like really sticking with me in terms of that Spider-Man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So for my next question, who would be your top three martial artists that you would like to work with, if you could?
We went through this last time. I still had trouble. I still had trouble. I still get picked besides the one, which is, Jackie Chan, definitely.
Yeah.
Just because I want to see the genius up front. I've met him once before, but like, it wasn't anything like, elongated in terms of a meeting. It was like, hey, hi, take a picture, okay, bye, kind of thing. But it would be really cool to see the man work in action and also to see what he has to say now after experiencing all this stuff for so many years. What he thinks of action and where it's going now. So I think that's already a given. I know I said Karate Hottie last time. That's like the most like main people on the scene, in terms of like just MMA fighting and seeing how they apply that in the combative sense. That'd be really cool. I forget who I said the second time though. Honestly, I don't know. Gotta figure out if I have to do. Wait, does it have to be a real martial artist?
Whoever you want.
Because now, if I'm thinking in my head, if it wasn't a real martial artist, Josie Rizal from Tekken. I don't know if you're familiar with her, Tekken 7.
I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah, like she. Well, one, her movements are just like delicious in terms of like technique. Like if you're talking like picture perfect, like whatever the Muay Thai Filipino influence kind of boxing style that she's supposed to be portraying, like I think it would be really dope to like work with her and fight with her, and if somehow magically I can like learn her Tekken moves and her specials and stuff and apply that in real life, that would be pretty dope. Just thinking about it. And it's also like her background's supposed to be like she's supposed to be a supermodel, I think, but just wants to go into fighting too. So I think it would be interesting to also hear and see what she thinks about that too, in terms of like the dynamics of like just being a female and like a very I guess stereotypical like a career output, and then like also trying to gain respect and like and from her family and just other people as a fighter too, because I believe that's her background, if I'm not mistaken. It'd be interesting to talk to her definitely though. I think about that.
Awesome. So for my next question, what are the positives and negatives into the martial arts and acting industry, and what advice would you give someone wanting to get into both of those industries?
Okay, so I guess we'll start with the acting industry first, because this is going to be a kind of long-winded answer from what I remember last time. But so the acting industry, in terms of that, one, okay, another full disclosure thing, I don't consider myself a great actor, nor anyone big or super successful. I just happen to be part of like fan films and stuff that just happened to blow up. So I'm thankful for that, and thankful for the people that enjoyed my performance there. But I'm not the best person in terms of acting. But at least from what I've learned going into it, if you want to act, definitely try it out, even if it's just starting with making YouTube videos or something for yourself, just to get a sense of what kind of characters you want to play. Um, and also just to feel out if this is something you really want. It takes I think it takes a particular person to also want to be a better actor and learn how to get into characters. And this is something that I know I'm not heavily focused in right now, just because I'm more martial arts oriented, more action oriented. But yeah, but the good thing about, I guess, being in the acting industry, that everyone's weird in their own way, I think. So you meet a lot of people with eclectic backgrounds and experiences, both young and old. So you get to meet a lot of people with different ideas of creativity, and I think that's really cool about the industry itself. But definitely some negatives because of, like, I guess, weird characters too. Sometimes you don't really know if people are just weird or they're like you kind of thought about your back and certain stuff. So you need to know yourself before getting into this whole industry in general. Like, know yourself, know your boundaries, know what you can and can't do, so that way when you do encounter other people, you're able to really dissect what their goals are and if they align with yours. Because sometimes that really comes into conflict, and especially if you're being really naive, like you're naive and you don't really know much, you might you might find yourself in like in situations you don't really want to find yourself in. Take that as you will, extreme or not really. Either way, you should definitely just be mindful of other people. Trust your gut instincts. If you think these are people and they've shown it, there's never been any like problems or anything like that, like definitely stick with a good group once you find a good group, I think, and learn to grow and help each other that way. I think that's a really important thing, especially in the acting industry, to find your little group to kind of develop with, um, or at least someone to practice often and work with often. Connections are definitely key, and just be kind to everyone. You never know who you're gonna run into again, or who's gonna eventually be successful. And the hope is that you be kind to others be kind to you, and hopefully, if you're helping purpose out too, along the way, that people would eventually bring you up as well. Fairly and everything, because you still have to put in your work, but just being kind to other, and like appreciate the connections that you make with each person, because you don't know where it's down the line. Life lesson 2, just saying that, not just acting, life lesson 2. So that's, generally speaking, the big takeaway from the acting stuff. Also, if you can't afford it, go take classes. If you really want to get seriously into acting, take classes. That's something I want to do eventually. I've taken a semester into college for like acting 101. That's my acting background. That's why I'm saying don't take me for like, oh, how do you act better. I just try to act like myself and try to see how believable I can make it if I was to be an audience member. That's really baseline for me. So if you want to be more into it, take official classes, learn from someone that's experienced. Incredible, which leads into the martial arts side, which I can talk all day about, but let's try to keep it a little bit short. Positive of martial arts, what I've experienced: one, you get a new family being in a martial arts school, because if you stick for the long run learning martial arts, you're going to spend years basically minimum. If you're in a more Americanized kind of schoolish thing, or like modern day martial arts school, sometimes it's like 4 years minimum with it. But I think a more traditional side schools, you're going to be there for at least 6 to 10 years, so until you get a black belt, right? So those people that you end up training with become like your second home, second family, and it's really awesome. Um, just because you're all working together in the same bits, and the cool thing about it too, even when I was a kid, you get to connect with people that are a lot older than you, and a lot younger than you, because martial arts in essence is very universal in terms of practicing action and the techniques that anyone could technically do if you just repeat discipline and practice, right? So you get to communicate through that, and that's another thing too. No matter where you are in the world, if you see another martial artist and meet another martial artist, like there's an instant connection that happens, I guess. It's like, oh, you do martial arts? Oh, I do martial arts too. Oh my God, let's do something, or like we can talk or try to talk if there's a language barrier, but like being able to show each other, I think that's it not only gives you a small knit family at like your school where you're learning from, it gives you an extended family globally, and I really 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 love that about having martial arts. It's blessed me with a lot of different connections on various scales, from the small town kind of thing to like international stuff, and given me a lot of opportunities because of that, and it's really amazing. I think martial arts has been able to do for me that way. Also, just in terms of regular things, health benefits, fantastic. You stay in shape, you keep doing it. Mentally and emotionally, you learn how to be stronger in those aspects too. If you that's something you struggle with, it kind of gives you a more disciplined mind, and learn how to control your emotions, especially if like you're learning how to fight and stuff, which I was doing at my fight camp before, and now I'm just doing stuff at home right now. But like it gives you those tools to also help you grow out as well. It's something I only started learning more so, like I said before, in my later lives, in my later life, in my martial arts career. But it definitely does. And that's the real martial arts right there, I guess. Lessons. Negatives about martial arts. There's not too many negatives outside of you need to kind of dig through the mud to kind of get to some of the good schools and the good instructors, and kind of stray away from the McDojos and stuff. So my advice to that would be to, one, do your research. If you want to start martial arts and get into it, do your research. You're not going to know everything about it, but you should at least have an understanding of what you're searching for and what you're looking for in martial arts, and be honest about that, right? So I know, like, when kids start going into martial arts, a lot of times the parents put them in because, one, they have like self-control issues, or they're hyperactive. um, their kids are getting bullied in school, so they need confidence boosters and learn how to like defend themselves against other kids. So there's those reasons there too, and then sometimes it turns into, oh, this is just a hobby. I like really like it and enjoy it, but that's the extent I want to do. Or three, oh, I want to like compete in it. I want to be like one of the top-notch people over on the circuit or something, doing tournaments. I want to fight in a real match. But the thing is, each person in those categories studying martial arts for those various reasons aren't going to perform martial arts the same way nor see it the same way too. So it's very important that you understand why you want to get into martial arts, and then learn how to stay in your lane at that point. So someone that does performance martial arts shouldn't be backing or saying, oh yeah, I can fight, when you never really trained for combatives, and fought anyone like to a greater extent, right? Same thing if someone's being combative martial artist, and saying, hey, like, performance martial arts isn't real. What the heck are you using it for? Like, it's a different thing. There's still a skill and athleticism that involves with that too. So learning how to stay in your lane and just respect everyone in this whole conglomerate of martial arts. That's one thing going in there. Having an open mind. That way, uh, you don't know everything, and it's going to be a while before you know enough to say you know something. I still say that in terms of myself. Like, there's certain things I'm confident in that I'd be like, hey, I think you should be working on this for your martial arts. It's going to be better if they ask, obviously. But there's other things where I'm like, I have no idea what this is for. I have no idea how to use this. I can execute it. It looks right. I've done it before in the past. I've successfully done it a couple of times, but I think you should ask my coach or someone else that's actually done it a lot longer than me. So that's something that I've learned to be more mindful of, just being aware of where I stand, what I actually know and what I don't know. And I guess other than that, just like I said, research your schools, research your instructors, and don't kind of get into this cult mindset. I understand loyalty is very important in terms of schools because I came from that too. But there's a bigger and more expansive world of martial arts that if you close yourself into one, that you're going to be very you're going to be blind in terms of where your instructors might lead you or where you think the martial arts lead you, or even yourself. You can be blind to yourself too in terms of like stunning your own growth. So do your research, educate yourself, and always keep an open mind. And just be honest with what you want to use your martial arts for, and that way you can't really ever say you're practicing martial arts wrong, in the sense that like you know what you're doing, and based off of that, you can gauge your personal growth and your personal development in real time rather than some kind of delusion. You know? That's the other thing too. So, think that covers it. Sorry for the long-winded
Oh,
answer, but yeah, it's a very like I can talk all day about this, man. So I'm like, yeah, appreciate it, man. Appreciate the interview.
it's all good. So, lastly, what new projects would you want to work on next for yourself after COVID?
Oh, geez, definitely wanted. I had planned out more like doing some more fight scenes actually. Just because I've always been a performer on screen, but I've never really choreographed anything extensively. Excuse me. I've done like say like martial arts demo showcase in a more like filmmaker aspect. But I really want to try to have a hand in choreographing more fight scenes where I can take my own martial arts experience and show it on film that way. I also would like to travel more and do more martial arts meetups and stuff and get back into training for my fight camp. That's definitely one. My fight camp got cut short because of COVID, and I'm really depressed about that. So I would like to get back into training so that way I can get into my full contact fights, since that's been something on my bucket list, as well as getting into for fight scenes with other people, choreographing for it, and really delving into more creative mindset of applying my martial arts. Because that's I ultimately love it in the fact that I get to showcase my skill and showcase the extent of what martial arts can do and what you can do with because that's what's inspired me with like camp particularly too. So I feel like why not do the same? You know?
Awesome. Well, can I just say thank you so much again, Angela, for appearing on my show. It means so much. Everyone, definitely go give Angela the amazing and incredible support. And thank you again so much, Angela, for appearing on my show. It means so much.
Thank you, dude.